What's up, everybody?
Welcome back, everybody.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Waiting for you to.
God damn. Okay. Um,
Before
before
we
we
begin.
begin, please remember to hit the link in our bio.
Subscribe, follow, share.
Like, subscribe, follow. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Deezer, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes.
You name it, we have it.
Yeah.
We're on it.
Follow and a like and a comment, especially the comment that allows for the interaction to continue, conversations to be had. And with those conversations, we can uncover more opinions and more topics for us to then provide more knowledge to you guys, as well as you guys pitch in to give us your feedback, because maybe, we'll learn, you'll learn, we'll all learn.
Absolutely.
I just realized I have my hand sanitizer. You want some?
No, I'm okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Nasty.
All right. That being said, take it away. Thanks so much. This week's topic is a really good one. Why do people not like to commit?
Why is commitment so difficult?
Exactly. To achieve.
Okay.
I think we brought this up. You brought it up to me because somebody asked you in the past.
Oh, that's right. Let me
right.
pull up the.
If you
I
don't mind.
have the. I have it somewhere here. Where is it? Here it is. So yes, way back when, before we, the coffee breakup came up, obviously the story all started with, Marvin. He went through this traumatic experience. That's where I was really able to exploit this, I guess, hidden talent that I have. And I was able to help Marvin. Marvin wrote a book. He's helped so many other people. And I'm like, you know what? Let me help as many people as I can. Where do I begin? I started asking questions on Instagram. Pretty much someone had then wrote to me about their situation, and then I gave an answer. Situation was obviously the topic of today, and we'll read verbatim, and then we can go and pick this apart, okay?
Please do. Sounds good.
So, why do men not want to fully commit but expect the woman to not get with other people? Date/get with other people. So my direct response, obviously, we're on short kind of, text capabilities.
Right.
But I said ego. So that's pretty much the big thing, ego. Men want to feel powerful in a relationship. We want to feel in control of things. I told her, I don't know your situation directly, but I would assume he keeps his options open and you're his most consistent person to be with. Maybe he knows he can rely on you and likes being with you, but rather not fully commit in case something else comes along that he wants to entertain. So if he sees you with someone else and he can't find someone, his most concrete person, which is you, is lost, and then he is left with nothing. Complete loss of control of the situation, and since men can be egotistical, we want to make sure to avoid any and all threats for that to happen. So empower yourself and get out of that shit when you see these red flags.
Fair enough. When you say that men want to be in control, right?
And want to feel powerful in
powerful.
a relationship. Yeah.
Do you mean that they want to feel like, yes, like this, I have this person close, but I still have the options?
What I mean by men want to feel powerful is like they want to be able to dictate what happens.
Like the terms, essentially.
No, not everything.
Okay.
Like you want to be in control of yourself, but in this case, if you're single but you're still entertaining somebody else, but you don't want to completely lose them, you want to make sure that you have the power to maintain control of what's happening. Therefore, you know what? If I know you're talking to somebody else, I'm no longer in control. So that's what I mean by having power when it comes to situations.
That
like
makes sense. Which
being
is also,
able to dictate.
Yeah. Which I guess I could piggyback off of that, which is when I was saying that men can be rather selfish sometimes. Which that's part of it. It's like, yes, you want to have cake and eat it too, essentially, right? Like you want to be in control of that. You want it to be your terms and your terms only. And I think we talked earlier at first about it, and obviously this applies to men and women. Fear of commitment.
Yeah, I'm glad. Before we continue, this obviously can, the shoe may fit, with any person, but for the sake of this argument or for the sake of the topic,
I mean, we'll
lean more towards men being the one that's difficult.
Is usually what usually happens.
But I'm sure, you may have girlfriends or you may know other women that are in the same boat.
This can apply to
just in case
to both men and women, but I think for purposes of all this, what we said is it's more towards men. And I've been in that situation, and like I've been that selfish person where, I wanted to have the perks of having somebody there, but also my freedom to do as I please, right? And so I think that's kind of what it comes down to it. Like, people want the benefits, of of a relationship without actually being in a relationship. They want to be, want to have that flexibility. They want to have that freedom to do as they please and say, well, I'm not in a relationship. We're not together, so you can't be mad if I'm doing this to this. I'm going out. Well, you can't be mad at, but then at the end of the day, they still want to be able to say, hey, this is a person that I can hold close with. I could, interact with and be with and lean on when I want to. But when I don't want to, I can also be out and go out and have fun with and do what I want.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's more prevalent now, and not just for men, probably for women as well, because commitment can be scary because putting all of your eggs in one basket, like and not that commitment's a bad thing, but especially when you're fresh, it's like why am I gonna pull the trigger on something where something else may come up that may be better, more advantageous, and obviously that comes with really knowing your partner and having those experiences where you feel like that's enough. But when it comes to commitment, just for one person, it takes a lot out of someone to also do that. And then obviously we're gonna go through all the different examples from the good and even the bad. But
I like what you just touched up on, and I guess we can break it down.
Sure.
I also wrote it down: fear of missing out on something better. We always think we could do better, and so when you commit to somebody, it's like, shoot, like this is it. I'm with this person, right? Like I can look around, I can date around, I can't pursue any options because I did commit to this person and this person only. So, a lot of times people think grass is always greener on the other side, or I can always find better. And I think it's now so more ever with social media. You go on social media, you see people with better looking bodies, more money, more successful. They do more things, and it's like, well, why am I going to settle for this person when I could be and see this person and be with that person, da da da. So we are kind of misled by social media and almost in a way.
It's a big competition, and it can be
Huge
seen as a
field.
threat.
Right.
For some people, especially, and also, like, for example, if I know social media is kind of built on how many followers you have, and that's kind of where your popularity comes from, as well as other business outlets. But when you have so many followers, you're able to interact, or you're more seen by people. So if you're in a relationship with someone, or if you're going to be committing with someone, and let's say I know someone that has that many followers, it's almost like maybe they can be an outlet to meet more people. So it's like, yeah, like, why settle for one when there could be so many other opportunities? So it could be very difficult. So then that's where, like, people will start entertaining. In this case, with the example that we first led off with, it's like, I obviously have built something bigger for you to be asking that. Obviously, the person long enough and they're not willing to commit. So them over time, whether it be very seriously, whether it be a relationship, whether it's platonic, or whether there's been sexual intimacy. Obviously you've built that over time. So it's like, okay, why won't this guy commit? But it's like you're also allowing that to happen while there's no commitment. It kind of leaves it where, okay, I know that this person's always going to be there. So why feel the need to tie myself down with this person when I can do whatever I want? And then I know that this person's still going to be there no matter what, since, I'm getting all these perks without having to pretty much sign on the dotted line.
I really like that because, and I also wrote down, for some men, modern day relationships bring less benefits than what they get in return.
We're really feeding off each other pretty well, man. So far so good. Like it's been a good 10 minutes.
But yes, sometimes I feel like a lot of times people feel like, well, I'm in like I can get all the perks of a relationship without actually being in one. So why should I even commit, right? Like, I can get everything out of it. Like, why should I cross that line if I don't have to?
Yeah.
But we talked about this in the past. So yeah, fear of missing out is a big one. Why settle? Like, why would I settle if I can get all what I want out of this person in a way? But and also a big thing we talked about is some unresolved trauma, like fear of getting hurt again.
And the vulnerability.
Yeah, being vulnerable. And that was a big one for me. To this day, it is. I've been single for a year and change, year and a half almost, and. For me, even at this point where I healed a lot of wounds and stuff like that, and I've overcome a lot, but to this day, there's still that part of me. It's like I'm terrified of opening myself up to somebody and saying it and putting all of me up on a table and being vulnerable again, right? Because being let down, being disappointed, being rejected. I think that all plays into it. A lot of times we have this trauma. I think you and I are very aware of it, and we try to manage it as best as we can. But there's also a lot of people who don't even realize that what they've undergone and the trauma they've been under, and then they don't know why they're not committing, right? But I think unresolved trauma is a big one, and the fact of like, hey, I don't want to be hurt again is also is kind of what kind of brings that.
You know what I just thought of?
What?
You know how we just let off with this one about ego and then the man and their options open?
Mm-hmm.
You think that people may fear commitment also on the other end because you think that the other person is doing the same thing. You know what I mean? Like for example, let's say me and this girl in front of me, we're both dating,
Mm-hmm.
right? What if I am afraid to commit because I think that her mentality is like I just read?
The same. What do you
Like
mean, like,
maybe yeah. So
she's
instead of
not committing either.
so like maybe I'll commit, but then I know that she won't because she has other options.
Right, which is that. I mean, that's where essentially trust would come in. But if you've been hurt in the past, you don't have
Yeah,
that, where you can't let. Well, you're supposed to open up. That's part of, you know, getting into a relation with somebody, being vulnerable. But if you have that, I think I definitely agree that could play into it as well. But if you're thinking that, it's because you're not trusting this person. You're not being vulnerable with
yeah,
this person, right? I mean, I get the idea that you're leaning into, and I think it plays a big part into it. But I think the big picture is, a lot of people aren't ready to date sometimes, or they haven't really gone under what haven't dealt with what they needed to deal with, and so it's like, shoot, I'm terrified of dating. I can't be let down again. I can't be hurt again. I mean, we've talked about this, but I think that plays a huge part in it. I mean, I know for me it has. It was a long time where I didn't want to even start anything with anybody
yeah,
because I just wasn't ready. But the good thing with me, I was aware of it. I was telling women straight up, "Hey, listen, I'm not ready."
yeah,
And then they knew about it, and if they wanted to pursue or wanted to stick
yeah.
around, that's on them. I can just be honest, and I think that's important. If you're not ready for commitment, say you're not ready for
Yeah,
commitment.
communication.
Yeah, communication is key because a lot of people just drag people on, and keep them running with you, and then strangling them along when you don't really, your intention is you don't want to be with this person, but they don't know that, right?
Yeah, there was I mentioned a meme that it's like guys get hurt once in high school, and then they never want to open up or like
Yeah.
date ever again because they just turn into these fuckboys.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like for both of us it may kind of fit best in our current situation. I don't like committing because of I'm afraid of feeling certain emotions. So kind of my way of going is from my past. I used to kind of string a bunch of girls around, so
Mm-hmm.
that's why a lot of I used to have like a lot of a bad rep and bad people would just talk very poorly of me because of what I would do. I just flirt, string them along, lead them on, and then it would go nowhere.
Right.
Now it's progressed to it's more that I'm more into myself obviously, and I'm afraid to open up because I haven't really learned the final step of getting over that vulnerability and allowing myself to welcome somebody in. So whenever I start getting those feelings for someone, it comes to an abrupt halt. I just kind of don't want to move forward, and it's just very difficult for me to open up, and I get very uncomfortable. I panic because I don't want to fall into those feelings of like, okay, last time I opened up and I was in a relationship and it ended. I was heartbroken. So automatically I simulate, okay, relationship, heartbreak.
Right.
I don't want to do this.
I, man, I feel like, yeah, I've been in this situation. I've been in your shoes, and it is very traumatizing, paralyzing, almost like, because when you get to a point when you meet somebody else, and it's like all of a sudden you start looking for all the wrongs. You were pushing back and be like, man, they're not like this, they're not like that, or you're comparing them to past relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just kind of sabotaging yourself. And a big thing is the easiest way to kill something special is by comparing it to something else, right? And no matter how good they are or how great they are, they weren't that person. They weren't that person. They weren't this person. But that's precisely the point. But when you're not ready to commit, you're looking for everything to kind of nitpick and kind of like break down and kind of be and kind of dismiss that and kind of be like, okay, like this is not the person. So you're
Right.
sabotaging yourself almost in a way. Um, so I get what you're saying. I think, and I also wrote down, some people think commitment leads to failure, right? Because it's like so much pressure, right? And it's like you've been down this road before. It's just gonna end down. It's gonna end the same way it has done the past 3, 4, 5 times or whatever. Um, and so I think that's a big one because if you think about it, when you meet somebody and you enter into a relationship with that person, or you just meet them, but there's only two options, right? When you meet them, either you're gonna spend the rest of your life with this person,
Yeah.
or you break up with this person, and both are equally terrifying, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's what I think. Especially if you're not just dating just to date, there's only two options that are gonna come out of this. So, and I think people are just terrified of getting hurt again. Um, People don't forget, man. People hold on to a lot of pain and anger and disappointment, even if it happened years ago. I know I have at some point, and It's not easy. I'm not trying to be a hypocrite and say it's easy to just dismiss that and get rid of that. No, it takes time. Even to this day, I think we both are still working through that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think the first step is also admitting like, hey, this is something that's
Yeah.
affecting us. You know.
So yeah, there was something else that I wrote was so some guys, they don't like opening up, which is another thing, because it's difficult to commit because nowadays, it's almost like men have to keep this like facade of, oh, I'm this manly man, I can't open up or be weak to a woman, so she has to be the one to come to me or whatever. So a man will open up, and it's almost like there's that another meme that it's like, oh, women want men to open up, but then once they do, then they make fun of them, or they laugh at those things that they're opening up for.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we're moving towards this era where it's okay for us to really discuss our feelings and be open about our emotions, where there's still this kind of part that we're holding back, that it's like, oh, but we're not fully there yet. So it's like, do I open up? Should I talk? Do I want to feel a certain way again? Maybe I should just kind of cover up my emotions and my feelings so I never fully, be honest with how I feel about this person, because I don't want to get hurt again. So that's another thing. I had also wrote outside of our kind of situation where we're more about getting into a relationship kind of equals disaster for us, since that's what we're so used to. That's whole success rate is very low, but sometimes it's certain friends. So let's say two friends that they're afraid to develop feelings for each other. So then there's no right or wrong direction to take, but it's like, okay, and let's say you have sex one day or something happens. It's like, so now what comes next?
Right. It will never be the same.
Yeah, and I remember you had said it once, and it's like, sometimes when that happens, one person always starts developing more feelings than the other. Yeah. So then it's like, okay, do we give it a shot? Do we pretend like it never happened? Do we continue doing this? Do we just never talk about it ever again? So that can also be very uncomfortable, where, okay, so obviously we're very close. We know each other. We've built this relationship as friends. This is starting to make sense where maybe we could do something, but someone's probably not committing for X amount of reasons. And it could be that, maybe they don't want to jeopardize the friendship that they have with that person, because they'd rather just stay friends, because the thought of them trying a relationship and it failing could tarnish the relationship as friends. Or it could also be that they're just kind of doing their own thing and you want to stay as friends. That way, you have that bond, that, yeah, we had sex, we've had that openness, we can continue if we'd like, but obviously we can just continue doing our thing on the outside. So if we want to get serious with someone else, they're out there, but if we don't want to be serious, we can be together. And that can also be kind of uncomfortable, where it's like, well, why would I settle for you when we're still doing this? And, I'll just continue trying to look for someone outside in the real world,
right?
Outside of this friendship world that we have, to see if, there's something there.
I've never been in that situation, luckily, but I know. I'd imagine it could happen. It could be definitely complicated, especially between two people who care about each other, right?
Yeah.
I think another big, and I always think, so I don't want to. I don't want to know if I want to name names or whatever. Fucking just really not watching it. So my sister, right?
Could have just said any random person inside her situation.
No, it's not really that bad. Well, yeah, no, it's not bad. So my sister's been dating this guy years. Great guy, I love him.
You also have like 1,000 sisters.
Yeah, exactly.
So
No one's gonna know. Love her. She's been with this guy for years. This guy has been divorced, kids, and so another big thing. And she wants to pursue something more serious, right? Marriage, whatever, kids. And this guy does not want to commit, right?
Okay.
Why? Because he's terrified of commitment. He's terrified that the same thing that happened to him once, it's gonna happen to him again. So, I know obviously this doesn't apply to us, but it applies to many people who they're dating somebody who has kids or a baby mama and stuff like that, and then they were like, hey, why can't we take that next step? And the reason for that, and I always tell people, this guy just been through severe trauma. He's had terrible baby mama, terrible ex-wife. She's making this guy's living hell, and he has to deal with that for the rest of his life, and that's trauma. And so you can't blame a guy for not wanting to remarry. If he's been married before, or if he has kids with somebody else before, and he doesn't want any more kids. Yeah. So a lot of people that I know people. Obviously, this is my sister. She's like, why doesn't he want to get married again? Why doesn't he want kids again, more kids? And it's like, dude, this guy has 2 kids already. He's been married before.
Yeah, being married and having kids and resulted poorly.
Yes, and this
guy thought of getting back into it.
Yeah, and finance. This guy has to pay. every month, and stuff like that. It's just bad taste in his mouth, and this guy doesn't want to go through that again. So a lot of people who date, if you date somebody who has kids or who has been married before, you have to accept the fact that there's a high likelihood that this person does not want to get married again. This person does not want to have kids again, and that's okay. But you have to know this up front, and she does know it. But guess what? 3 years later, she's still with this guy. But like people don't want to face the reality, right? And so if you've been divorced or if you have kids with somebody, that could be a huge part of why you don't want to commit anymore, because we've done it and it didn't work out. So who's to say it's going to work out the next time? And it is also obviously past trauma and that fear, but that can happen as well. I just wanted to share that because it could happen.
I mean, I feel like now being in these, you had said it once before, these situationships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's almost like it's more acceptable because you do have that freedom where you can still live a regular life and you can still be, I don't want to say committed to someone, but it kind of is, but
like very loosely, it's very loose terms.
Yeah,
like,
because people have been together for a while, but it's like, oh, when did we ever start dating?
Yeah,
it kind of just happened.
It just happened. You just fell into it, and like I don't know.
Is it even official? I mean, not really, but we've just been together. We live together. We've known each other for so long. It kind of just happened. Yeah. So sometimes you don't even need that word or that official commitment. It kind of just happens on its own. But obviously, that's it all comes down to knowing your partner, knowing the relationship or situationship that you're in with that person.
Yeah, and also listen to I said this we've said this off before we've spoken. Like listen to the signs. If somebody tells you, "Hey, I don't want anything serious," believe them the first time, and not stick around hoping that miracle's gonna happen and they're gonna change their mind. If they tell you what they want or what they don't want, listen.
Yeah.
Don't try to like change them. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, so that's probably the biggest fail that everyone ever does. A lot of women I know that they like staying with men because they like the idea of, oh, I can change them or I can make them better.
It's like a little project they want to take on.
Yeah, and what happens sometimes when they do commit, or like you start dating at first, if you don't know your partner that well, when you start, you get blinded into like this infatuation that you're with someone that you don't really realize. Maybe I should know a little bit more before I get into it, but your emotions are so tied up into it that you get into it, and then down the line, these things pop up that you're like, man, I didn't see this before. And then by then it can just be very poor. So, I mean, and that's another thing that can also get tied into why it could be so difficult to commit, because knowing that you going in, there's so much more that you need to learn. And it's almost like sometimes people feel that you need to walk on eggshells because it's not you anymore. So people knowing that now you're with someone else, you should always be wary of who you are and what you want to do and your passions and your own happiness, and you should find someone else to do that for you. But then the learning process of having to give up a lot of what you do, or not so much give up what you do, but being able to be as one to do things together or to make time where you just don't have the freedom to be out with your boys all the time. You have to be able to come together. So some people, they like playing the field to just be able to have that selfishness, like how you had first said. So they're able to go out whenever they want. They have their own time. They can do whatever they
have the freedom to do
exactly.
What they want.
And I'm almost like that as well, because it's like, yeah, I have my traumas that I'm still kind of slowly recovering. I've learned to be happy by myself, and it's like I've gone so far that it's like, why would I want to, if I'm happy by myself, why be so emotionally disconnected for me to try to get back into dating? It's very difficult. So I'd rather just do what I want to do and how I function, because once I have somebody else, now that form of commitment of having to like be accountable, having to be there, having to show up, it's like I'm too focused on me
the things
to
that
be
you
able
want to accomplish.
To do that.
Right. No, I get it. Trust me. I totally get that. And that could be another thing. People are they're just not interested in the commitment because they have other commitments, right?
That, and I also wrote down the temptation of how easy it is to communicate these days, when especially with social media now more than ever, because this is the kind of direction that we're going to be shifting into, where there's less things for us to do out socially. A lot of it has to be on social media. Right. So, it's so easy to just find someone. Like if I don't know you or I know someone that has a mutual friend, boom, I'll find your profile easily. Or if it's a mutual, gathering where it's like, oh, this person, I know this person, it's so easy to find someone and just converse and connect with people, that to just commit to one person, knowing how easy it is to just find someone else. All these dating apps is another thing. It's pretty much, social media is the same thing as a dating app essentially. True. Except you're not set up to date. On social media, you're set up to just build your profile however you seem fit and create a business out of it if you choose to. Which a dating app is like, I'm here to date, but on social media it's literally the same thing, just it's more open.
Yeah, and it's just labeled differently. But
yeah, you just have to dig for it a little bit, because you know, with dating apps kind of like, hey, this is what we think will work for you
right here. Yeah.
But on social media, you know, you have to dig, and the ability for you to be able to dig and find all that freedom and to go through all these profiles. It's like you stick to one person. There's so much more out there that I haven't seen yet. I think you actually said it. I don't know if you started off with it, but you're like, you know, why commit to this one person where it's like, yeah, I meet two people, or I meet one person, and then by the next week I meet somebody else, and I chose to kind of like ride this one out. It's like, you know, you're not ready. I'm not saying that if you start off, whatever decision you first make, where, oh, you know what, I never see myself getting into a relationship. You know, I'm not saying, you know, give up on that person, but be wary that they're not looking for anything serious. Yeah. Can down the line, maybe they say, fuck, I didn't think I'd ever feel like this again, and I felt like this for you. Could happen. I never thought I was going to date ever again after my relationship when I was in college. But then obviously Jose passed away. I reconnected with his family, and then his cousin. Then we just hit it off. I didn't expect that.
Right. You didn't look for it.
But you know what? I swore I would never do it again. But she changed that way of thinking for me.
Yeah. Usually sometimes how it works. But yeah, I think we brought up some really good points. Obviously, in 30 minutes, you can only convey so much. Yeah. Anything you want to kind of touch back up on, or?
No, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Do you have anything?
Last thing that I think, what I was gonna say is that we all are byproducts of past experiences. So I mean, that's whatever has happened in your life, chances are you're acting upon it. You might not even be aware of it. Chances are you're not aware of it. So if you're not, if you're afraid of commitment, or not, it may not even be the fear, but if you don't want to commit, ask yourself why that is. And kind of dig. We always say, you always say it. Dig down, like uncover the layers and dig deep and see what's going on, and then kind of be aware of it. And so, if you don't have to commit, you don't have to date, but don't lead people on. I think that's the biggest takeaway. As long as you're transparent with what your goals are and what you want out of life, sky's the limit, and bless your heart. But the last thing you want to do is lead people on. I think that's a big takeaway. But yeah, ultimately, guys, if you have any feedback, if you guys have any personal experience, let us know. Mm-hmm. You want to?
No, yeah, but I mean, I'm just gonna run through. I mean, a lot of the things that we've covered, people are afraid because of their trauma of any past experience or past relationship.
Yes.
Sometimes you start as friends, and you don't want to uncover what could be because of the risk of losing that friendship. Friends with benefits, once you have sex, what direction do you take? And then if one does get feelings, that's where you kind of have to play like, okay, can this be? Should we commit to each other? Do we just continue playing the field? Mm-hmm. People, they don't want to give up certain lifestyles. Maybe they just like going out, they like socializing, they just like being their own self. Yeah. Why open up to someone if we can get hurt again, which is the same thing as the first one, as a trauma. Last time I opened up, I got hurt. And then, playing the field, some people, just like the one that we opened up with, ego. They like knowing that they can have control of you, and knowing that you're always going to be there. So, I like you, and I like you around, but not enough to fully commit to you, not enough to fully date. And then you just get strung along. If you ever find yourself in a situation like this,
get out of there.
I wouldn't say get out, but, either do the same. Oh, but he doesn't like it because, he gets mad if I do it. Then you're in it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, you're holding on. You think that you're going to change them. It's probably not going to happen. I would say find your freedom, find your passions, and do what you need to do. Because by the time that you do move on, it won't be easy, but you do, he's going to be like, man, I totally fucked up. Yeah. And by that time, you're not even going to care anymore. So don't even let that be a conversation or a thought like, oh, man, now I'm like, I lose him forever. If anything, that would be the positive in this.
I concur. I agree.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, guys, thank you so much. We only had 30 minutes, but we appreciate you guys checking us out. Thank you so much.
We appreciate you guys checking us out. I know Marvin gets checked out all the time.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching today's content. We hope you guys enjoyed the show.
And if you did, please make sure to subscribe, like, and comment down below. And follow us on every other social media platform. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Go ahead and follow us, leave us a comment, and any feedback helps. Whatever you leave us, we'll be able to touch up on another show, or we'll be able to get back to you with any other comments. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.